What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. I've got more than 2 decades in the sales industry, and at this point, I know one thing. We have the wildest, craziest stories in existence, and also the greatest industry ever because it gives us the chance to write our own check and build a life of design. And what I'm doing here with this show is bringing you crazy stories, amazing tactics that you can go and implement in your business and life today, and a good place to come on and be a part of the sales community. Let's be honest, there's so much crazy shit that happens in sales that at the end of the day, if you don't have someone that you can talk to about it that understands, you end up going crazy. And that's why I created this show in the Call the Damn Leads community. I want a place for you to come and share your crazy sales stories and connect with other like-minded and success-driven sales professionals. Today's guest, someone I'm very, very excited to have on. He's someone I know is an absolute badass when it comes to sales. You can tell by the really tight-knit beard and the high and tight cut. He's just ripped and ready to go. I've got my friend, the regional manager of the USCCA, Mr. Mike Bauer. What's up, brother?
What's happening, player? It's really, really cool to be here. I'm very thankful to be here.
Hey, well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. I mean, running an entire region of sales professionals and teams, it's not an easy job, and you're someone that does it and makes it look easy while looking extremely good as well. So, you know the point of the show, man. I want to talk crazy sales stories, but before I get into it, how did you get into sales? Like, what was it that got you into sales to begin with?
Yeah, so back when I was 16 years old, I was really into snowboarding, and the only way to snowboard for free was to become basically a snowboard instructor. And so I started at my local hill, got pretty good at it, found that I had a passion for teaching people how to snowboard, and on top of it, learned this thing that you do learn in sales over an amount of time if you're any good, which is when you teach someone else how to do something, you become a master yourself. And so got pretty good at snowboarding coaching, went on to be a professional snowboard coach actually for a while, had some successful students there, and then when that was done and over with, eventually I was getting married and realized it's not going to pay the bills, so I got a job at a local snowboard shop. So I was a sporting goods manager for 6 years, and about 6 years before that is where I got into what I'm doing now.
Man, and what's cool about sales is that it gives you so many opportunities and opens so many doors. And I know we're going to talk about some of the doors that's open for you here later on, but I want to know, Mike, what is your craziest Call the Damn Leads sales story, man? We got to hear it.
Yeah, so I've got 2 of them. One of them was for a partnership, and one of them was for an actual sale. I'll do it in progression here. So back in September of 2020, I've got someone who I consider a friend of mine. His name is Maj Toure. He runs a organization called Black Guns Matter, and he's really trying to help the community be safer with firearms training. And so he's in Philadelphia, where firearms have a very bad stigma where he grew up, and he wants to make sure that, you know, if you're going to have a firearm, you need to have it safely. You need to have safe storage. It should not be around children without properly educating yourself and them and all this good stuff. And so he does these amazing organization stuff that travels all over the country. So he runs this event every single year called the Solutionary Summit. He tells people, I don't need you to be someone who brings up problems. I need you to come up with solutions. You should be a solutionary. And so he brings people from all political sides, all different types of backgrounds, and puts them up on stage all next to each other and says, here's a problem, let's come up with some solutions. Very, very cool concept for a one-day event. So we're in Atlanta in 2020. And they have myself there to speak on behalf of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association, USCCA, and about the memberships that we offer. An organization does education, training, and self-defense liability insurance, and we package it in a membership. So he has me go and present, and the idea is that we sponsored the event. We've got a table. You can come on over afterwards. So I do my presentation, talk about safety, all this stuff. I've got this guy that comes up to me, and he's in to kind of paint the picture. I'm about 6 foot, a little shorter. This guy's almost, to my chin. He's a little shorter guy. He's got what looks to be like a fishing vest on, is probably the best way to describe it. Kind of the old dad look. And because it's 2020 in Atlanta, he's actually got a mask on. So and then a hat as well. So can't really see anything. Don't think much of it. But he comes up and he goes, "So you guys you've got over 1,200 attorneys your organization works for. Is that accurate?" I said, "Yes, sir, that is accurate." He goes, what do you got? Who do you got in Memphis? And I'm like, well, I'll pull it up on my phone here. So I pull it up on my phone and I show him some of the attorneys we work with in Tennessee. And man takes my phone and he walks away, Drewbie, which at this point I'm like, there's 50, 70 people here. I don't know. We'll figure this out. We have people waiting to sign up. So I'm like, all right, we'll see what works. Man walks off. And all of a sudden I forget about the fact that he's got my phone. He comes back 5-10 minutes later. He goes, this guy right here, he's worth a damn. Give me one of those, I'll sign up. So Mr. Brown signs up with us. We sign him up for a membership. We don't think anything of it. We keep doing a few more of these things. All of a sudden, lunch break is over. We go back in the auditorium, and my man Maj introduces the next person. He's talking about how this guy is a prolific guy from on TV. Everyone's heard of him, this, that, and the third, and all this stuff. He goes, my good friend, Judge Joe Brown. And Judge Joe Brown, Mr. Brown, the guy who we had just signed up, goes up on stage with one of the little ammo can training kits with our logo on it in front of all these people, plus the live stream, drops down the ammo can and starts spitting fire with the best free advertising we could have ever gotten from the event.
That's hilarious. That is, I mean, you know, what's crazy about that is to know that, A, you could be in front of someone that's extremely famous like that and have zero idea because, you know, when you're wearing a mask and, like, just whatever, cool, right? But the wherewithal for you to just be like, this guy just walked off with my $1,000 iPhone in the middle of this event, and I don't know what the fuck's going on here. And you know what, though? I got sales to make, so, like, screw that iPhone. I'm gonna find my iPhone later. I'm gonna climb, you know. That is such a great story, and I can only imagine your face in the moment. I wish I had like a third-party camera view. Like, what? That's freaking. I mean, yeah. What are you gonna do? It's America, baby.
It was wild, and you're absolutely right. I can only imagine my face because I do recall as soon as he announced him on. Then all of a sudden, this guy who's kind of like he's behind the spot that I could see from where I was sitting, and he walks up, and I'm like, that Joseph Brown? Like, dude, it was, I can only imagine that I probably looked completely dumbfounded and just like, mouth gaping. I was taking pictures because I would have taken pictures no matter who was getting on stage. It was wild. It was a really, really fun time. And, afterwards I went up and just said, thank you again for your membership. If you ever need anything, here's my card. And quickly shut up so I didn't say anything stupid from there. It was pretty fun.
That's a great lesson in sales, though. Hold on, because like this show is all about crazy stories, but I want to bring some tactics too, and the ability to shut up after you've closed the sale is so key. Because I think I heard Ed Milet maybe talk about it at one point, right? Selling past the close. It's like you got the close. If you just shut up, they'll do the thing. Whatever you get the sign up, take the paperwork, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that brings me to one of my questions. I always like to ask this, Mike. When it comes to sales, there's a lot of different tactics and strategies out there. For you personally, what would you say is your secret weapon when it comes to sales?
Man, it's something called the pitch notebook. I can pay you $20 to talk about this because I literally have my notebook right next to me. So this is the greatest tool. My team always talks about. I used a phrase once during a training event. I said, listen, all my best shit is stolen. I learned stuff from everyone else. And they're like, that's a t-shirt. That's your phrase. But the one thing that I would say is just a collaboration of things that I've learned is what's called the pitch notebook. And so there's two things that you need to have in sales, in my opinion, outside of the confidence, empathy, all that stuff. You need to build up yourself. But you can build it right here with this notebook. It's any old notebook, and what you do is you want to take that notebook and you crack it open right in the middle. We have 3 new sales guys who graduated today. I taught this to them. So in the middle of this notebook, what you want to do is you open it up, and every time you have a sales call, any objections or questions that you get, I want you to put that in this notebook. Now, afterwards, I don't actually want you to go back. If you had like a fire response, it worked, all right, write that down. But I don't need you to go back and do what you're probably thinking, which is I need to come up with the right answer for this right away, because we want to emotionally detach from that situation. So you know what it's like when you're brand new in sales. Someone asks you a question, and you think that they're like going to attack you, and really they just want a question answered. So I want you to write this down. Then afterwards, whether it's the next day, that night, don't care. Now you write down your 3 to less sentence response, clear, concise, confident. And now I want you to memorize that so you can just say it without even thinking about it. So that's number 1 in the middle. Number 2 in the middle, though, is I also want you to put down any sort of subject matter expert things that is unique to your industry. So For example, unique to your industry or unique to the business partners that you work with. So for our guys, for an example, there was one guy who I used to work with when I was in the field. His name was Brad, and every time he was in front of his students, he's a firearms instructor, he would talk about this stupid Microtech out the front knife. Have you ever seen those knives where you push the button, it goes click, and then you push it down, it goes click, it goes back in?
Yeah, I have one floating
so
around
he
here
had
somewhere.
one
I
of
was gonna
those.
do the clickety-clickety.
Yeah, so imagine that sound. You've heard that, chick, 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 all right? So every time I'm in my class, we're talking about our membership that we have. And I was talking to, people would always say, is this just for firearms owners? And we said, no, this is for all types of self-defense. And I would say, so my guy Joe over here, or Joe, I'm still thinking of Judge Joe Brown over here. My guy Brad over here, our instructor, I'm like, so if Brad can't defend himself with, whatever he's got, what's the first thing he's going to grab? And everyone heard him right next to me go, chick, and he heard that Microtech go up that he had talked about 15 times during that class. And so the reason why I talk about that is any industry that you are in, you're going to have common subject matter expert one-liners you're going to learn in that industry, or you're going to work with people that you want to have some information that you can just throw out there and makes you look like more of a subject matter expert. And so that's going to go in the middle of your notebook. Common questions, the answers to them, subject matter expert stuff. Now you're probably wondering, Mike, that's the middle of your notebook. You need something in the front. What's the front for? And I thank you for asking that subliminally. So here's what it is. Every single person who's in sales has gotten kicked in the teeth. I want you to think, if you're in sales right now, when's the last time that you had a really rough phone call? Was it 10 years ago? Was it 10 weeks ago? Hell, it might have been 10 minutes ago. And so what I want you to have in the front of your notebook is every single time you win, I want you to write it down. And so for those three guys I was talking to today, I'm like, your first one might be walked into my first prospect. Next one might be signed my first prospect. Next one might be signed my first membership. I want you to write down all of these, even if they seem silly right now, because what's going to happen, and this is where this all ties together, you are eventually going to have a day that is very tough. And you're going to need to pull out of that because it's the beginning of the day and you have way more to get through. So you're going to pull out your pitch notebook and you're going to try to go to the middle of it where you can start rehearsing some of your stuff, because we never practice on money and we always practice beforehand. What will happen is you will go and grab that notebook when you're in the middle of a huge confidence thing and you'll start flipping through, and what do you think you're going to start seeing? You're going to see 15, 16, 17 pages of stacked up wins that is going to build up your confidence and go, you know what? I am a winner. I do deserve to win. I do put in the work. This was a one-time thing. This isn't like me. I'm going to get back in the game. I'm going to regroup. I'll be back in the fight. And that's the pitch notebook.
That is brilliant, Mike. I don't use a pitch notebook. I have a Remarkable, and I just write notes for myself in it all day, but I'm at a different point in my sales career, so I love that, like, hey, as a foundational strategy, and again, things can always be great. The basics is what wins wars. I've done training with very high-level special forces guys that were like, listen, we don't train on, like, the crazy shit. We train on the basics, because when you're in the heat of battle, it's your ability to pull the weapon out of the holster and point it at the right person that makes you win. And that pitch notebook is that, right? It's that practice of going back to the basics. What are my subject matters? What are the things that I know are common objections? How am I going to be clear, concise, confident? I'm going to take that triple C's from you. Maybe I'm going to give you some credit for it too, because that's a great one. But you're right. When you come in very clear, very concise, and very confident with your answers, that's what gives people that confidence in your answer. When you sound like you don't know what you're talking about, people believe you don't know what you're talking about. And in an industry like concealed carry firearms, I mean, there's no room for error. You can't make a mistake of, well, right, I said it this way. No, like, you have to say it this way, because that's the difference between someone protecting themselves or someone doing life in prison. And I love that you have this mentality of like, hey, let's dial in and let's be professionals and let's really make sure we have something to fall back on. And that's why I love sales. Everyone has a different style. Everyone has a different methodology and a way of going about it. My favorite quote, and I'm going to say this a lot on the show, is methods are many, principles are few. Methods may vary, but principles never do, right? You may do things 10 different ways, but it's the principle of, hey, have the confidence, be very clear with what you're doing, and say what you mean, and that's what's going to get you the result, Mike. And that's, I got to say, man, I really appreciate you and the value that you brought to this show, and just that section alone because I know if someone goes and they take action on it, I mean, it's easy to add an extra 6 figures in top line revenue to what they're doing just by being a little more organized, having something like that to fall back on. So I want to ask, because, man, I know one thing that really happens a lot in sales are misconceptions, right? They're liars, they're thieves, they're this, they're that, and I can imagine coming from the firearms industry the way you do, there's a lot of additional misconceptions that get added on top of that. How do you handle that, right? How do you, handle misconceptions about sales or your industry when you're in the heat of a conversation?
So to clarify, are you talking more so for someone who is a customer who's got a misconception, or for someone who we're giving some sales training to?
It could be either way. Let's start with somebody that has, misconceptions about sales training on your team, and then maybe how you would handle it with a customer. Give somebody, some folks that are listening some objection handling.
Sure. So if there is someone who is who's going through this, I think that it just, again, it's the foundational stuff. If you have a sales system that's already in place, it means that you have found success somewhere else and that you've documented that, and you've got documentation from almost like with a customer, you want testimonials. For my guys, when they come in, I want to actually have stuff that is what the guys in the field who are having success, what they're actually doing. And so, I mean, we've all had this happen, unfortunately. If you've been in sales management at any point of time, you put together this amazing, really great training, and you put it through, and you teach these new guys, and they go out and they're ready to just take on the world, and they talk to your top performer, and your top performer goes, yeah, I don't do any of that. And, man, there is nothing worse than a kick in the gut to your top performer just telling this dude who you just got so pumped about your training, telling him, yeah, I don't do any of that stuff. And so what we have done that has been very successful for our team, and it's a culture play, is we've just made sure we've put together this, we call it our account executive Bible for our sales guys. This Bible it's a 22-page document, which sounds crazy, but back to back, we're talking 10 pages essentially. It gives them the playbook on the sales side. Now, it doesn't go into all the deep CRM and all that stuff. It's just to do your job, here's what you got to do step by step all the way through it, and it comes directly from the people who are in the field. It's such a wonderful thing to know that you have it dialed in, because you're hiring someone that you need to sell them on the success of your team and the ability to jump on, and they're going to find success as well. So you tell them, this is what we do, this is how we create this. Then they go through the new hire training. We show them the exact same thing that we talked about in the interview that sold them on the opportunity. And then they get out in the field and they go, I know how this works. And they call up your boy and they go, hey man, I just got through training. I know how this works. I've been through this before. Please, can you just tell me, how am I going to make my first 6 figures? And when you got your top sales guys then going, listen, man, the number one thing you need to start with is this, and you're on the same page, dude, it's lights out.
Come on. That's some real stuff, too, because I've met a lot of sales professionals. I've gone into organizations and been like, well, tell me about your process. And either A, they don't have any process, they just wing it 90% of the time, or it's exactly like you said. It's like, well, here's the process I'd like. And then you start talking to people, and it's like, well, that ain't the process they're using. What the fuck goes on here? Like, I don't know if these guys really are buying, they're drinking the Kool-Aid or not, because they're not doing the thing that clearly would be making them more successful. And sales is filled with ego. That's what happens. We get out there, we make a couple sales, we get a little money in our pocket. Like, I got it. I don't need no training, dog. Man, I'm the best daggone closer out here. Man, you talking about no training, man. Practice. Man, talking about practice, man. That's the truth, though. The best people I know, they role play, they practice, they do this shit day in, day out, and that's why when they get into a conversation, they can handle objections. They're clear, concise, confident, clear, concise, confident, because they already know what they're going to say before they're even getting to it, which is why they aren't thinking about what they're going to say next. They're hearing what the client is saying and being able to direct them into the right path.
Totally. And there's even one more level deeper that I'd love to give you for anyone who's looking to start a sales team, or if you're that solopreneur that's thinking about, we always talk about it's who, not how. You want to get on the who, but they better get caught up pretty quickly. And so we listen to the Dan Martells of the world and talking through. Derek Harper talks about having the camcorder method. So you got to create something. I want to tell you something. I want to give you some reasoning why this is so important. So you're already bought into your systems. And the reason why you close at 50+% is it's because it's your business. You put put it together, you have that belief. And so you need to give that belief to someone else. And you talked about it. You're absolutely right. People, when they interview, they are immediately confident in their previous successes that they have. But the problem is they are confident in themselves, but they don't have the competence of your business. And so what happens is they get on this interview and they're like, put me in, coach. I don't need any training. Let's go. Pass the rock, right? We all see that. We put them through a little bit of sales training, but then they start learning, they get the competence of your business. They start learning a little bit, but what happens? Their confidence plummets because they go, oh, you got this CRM, I got to do that. Oh, if I'm driving, I got to do modus mileage and make sure that I do that appropriately, and expenses, and I got to do this. Dude, I just want to sell. And the problem is their confidence takes a massive, massive hit. It's a nosedive to the bottom. It's the lowest it'll ever be. And then you know what we do, Drewbie? We hand them off to some cold leads. And the problem with that is so obvious. When their confidence is at the lowest, we just let them go off on their own. And if we don't have a process in place, we are leaving them at the most vulnerable. And then we wonder why people aren't successful. But once they get past, all of our guys who have made it successful within 3 months, they stick around. So that must just be the key. Anyone who can make it 3 months, they must be good. Everyone else sucked. What if maybe your process just sucks, and maybe the 50% of the other ones that dropped off, if you would have given them a little bit more direction and guidance on how to get somewhere and not made them feel insignificant about, well, I don't want to ask a question, I might feel dumb because I just said that I was this really cool sales guy. Give them a little bit of a help through those processes that they've forgotten because your training is like, it's so long or whatever, or just like not well put together. Now they have the confidence to follow step by step. They can go to some of your top performers if you have those, and they just follow the process. And then all of a sudden, 3 months in, they're ramped up. They're making some money. They got their confidence. They have the belief in your product. And again, now it's a wrap. You're ready to rock.
Boom, man. That's probably 6 to 7 figures worth of game right there for any small business owner or entrepreneur that's paying attention, because that's the truth. Your belief in your system and what you do is what makes it so powerful. And a lot of sales professionals, they come in and they have no fucking clue. They don't know. They're just trying to make a couple bucks and not be broke, man. That's the only belief they have is like, hey, if I don't make a sale, I'm going to be broke. And I love the idea of being able to create that system, hand it off to somebody, and know that if they call anyone in the organization, I'm going to tell you exactly what's on that piece of paper in front of you, dog. I don't know why you're calling me. Did you do the thing on the paper yet? Because, if you haven't done that, that's the first fucking step. Just do what's in the microwave directions, dog. Step 1, call the damn leads. Step 2, hey, sir, this is John calling from the USCCR. I'd like to speak to you about your firearms registration today. That ain't rocket appliances, dog. Just get at it. But most people skip those simple steps, Mike, and I appreciate you really laying the clarity on that, because whether you're a seasoned vet or you're brand new to the game, it is those basics that allows you to win. And going back and having that repeatable process, and to scale a team, everyone has to follow that same process. So, man, I really do appreciate you. This has been one of my favorite episodes. It's very, very tactical, just like you in the firearms industry. That makes sense, right? Kind of a word play there. But also, the story that you brought was pretty incredible to know that, you were just going above and beyond. You were serving and really doing the right thing. And it allowed you to meet someone very, very incredibly famous who I know you've been able to build a relationship with and all kinds of cool stuff. So, Mike, if people want to know more about the USCCR or how to find out, anything about that, what's the best way to find them?
Yeah, man, you can go on uscca.com. We got all the stuff for our organization. If you're looking for me, best way to do it is just on social media, on Facebook or otherwise. Look up Mike F. Bauer. That's me. If he doesn't have a good beard, it's probably not me.
Hey, the beard is really stand out. I gotta say, it looks good. I don't know if I want to grow mine that long. I don't know if I'm ready for that, but yours looks real nice, man. And as I said, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, getting to see you succeed in your spot, in your sales role, leading. You have how many reps on your team at this point now?
Our entirety of our team has over 130. I've got 25 of those directly in our organization in the Midwest.
If you guys are listening, this dude's got the game. He just laid it out for you. Make sure you go back, listen a couple times, take notes. If you are here and you have an amazing sales story that you want to share, I want to bring you on the show. Go to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Put your information in. Tell me a little bit about your story. Let's bring you on the show. Let's share it. Let's get it out there, because sales is crazy. It's a lot of fun. It's the best industry to be in, if you ask me, and any of my guests that have been here with us. With that said, if you like the show, subscribe, share it with your friends, tag us on social media at Call the Damn Leads. I'd love to share your story and bring you in because this is the greatest community in the world, as I said. And as always, Call the Damn Leads. We'll see you on the next one.